is to determine the qualifications of elected member of council for District 3 based on the South Carolina Code of Laws 57210. Turn it over to Mr. Spradlin.
First thing I want to do is give out the unredacted copy of the document that started the entire situation. Here's the original. I've got a couple of extra here. Y'all had asked for previously. I've got more than extra one. If anybody wants a copy of any documents that put in evidence for discussed, we'll make copies after, and we'll make copies of whatever everybody wants. The one thing that we need to set out in the outset is we have court reporters here. Those court reporters are going to take down everything that is said here tonight. Everything that is said here tonight should be from these tables forward. If anything is in the back, is going to be asked to leave, because there should be no comments from the gallery, because what's going on here is important, and everything needs to be taken down by these ladies over here, so there's a record of everything that takes place. There are a few laws I'm going to read to council about what the situation is and what your determination has to be based on. Statute, South Carolina Statute 5-7-200 is titled Grounds for Forfeiture of Office of Mayor or Councilman. It states that a mayor or councilman shall forfeit his office if, 1, he lacks at any time during his term of office any qualification for the office prescribed by the general law and the Constitution. That's what we're here about tonight, is to determine whether Mr. Kane has lacked any of the qualifications for holding his office. Those qualifications are laid out in two places. One place is in section 15-5-20 of the state code. And it says each municipality in this state shall provide by ordinance for the election of its council. Council shall set as one of the following methods of election of its council. And it goes through whether you have at large or whether you have districts. And of course, Batesburg-Leesville, when it was incorporated, when it was put together, decided to go by districts. So the section that applies tonight is this: mayors and councilmen, and that's in the code, that's not my words, to be council person. The mayors and councilmen shall be qualified electors of the municipality, and if they are elected subject to residential or ward requirements, as we are here, they shall be qualified electors of the wards prescribed for their election qualification. So in other words, you have to be not only a resident, but a qualified elector of your district or ward is what the code talks about. Council in 5-7-210, it states that council is the judge of the qualifications and election of its members and shall determine the grounds for the forfeiture of the office. So that's why y'all are sitting here tonight as basically judge and jury to determine this. Y'all are the judges of this situation. Nobody else is. Y'all have to vote to make a determination at the end of this as to whether Mr. King is, at any time during his term, lack the qualifications of his office. The town ordinance is even more specific. In section 1-2-2 of qualifications, subsection B, it says that each council member shall be a qualified elector and resident of the district he represents at the time he offers for the election and during his entire term. So by code, if at any time since his election, Mr. Kane has either not been a resident or not been a qualified elector of his district, then he would have lacked the qualifications to hold his office. The council could, at that point, it's not necessary, the council could remove him from office under the forfeiture statute. The question of residency you have to glean a lot of different information from different places. A lot of times residency is established by bills, where bills are paid, where bills are sent. What somebody's intent is can be taken into account. Basically, it's common sense. Where is somebody living? That's what residency is where is somebody living? Where have they been living? Qualified elector means somebody has got to be a registered voter of their district. And that would be a registered voter in their district at a proper address in their district throughout their term. Those are the guidelines that you have to go forward with tonight. The way we're going to do this, and I believe that the information was sent to Mr. Kane, but I'll lay it out for everybody. What's going to happen is that there'll be, if either side wants to give opening statements, they'll give opening statements. The investigator, Mr. Byrd, will put on his case first. He can call whatever witnesses he wants. Mr. Kane can cross-examine them. Counsel can pipe in and cross-examine them as you wish. Then Mr. Kane will be able to call whatever witnesses he wishes to call. The investigator will be able to cross-examine him, and the counsel can pipe in and ask questions as you see fit. At that point, if there's something that Mr. Kane has put in that hadn't been addressed before, the investigator can do what's called rebuttal. And if we get to that point, I'll explain what that is. You can't put something new in. It's got to be something new that Mr. Kane brought up that wasn't addressed in the initial side of the case. At that point, there'll be closing arguments, or if counsel has more questions, counsel asks questions. This is y'all's hearing. Y'all set the rules for this. Y'all can vote right now to change the rules and do it as you want to. Because the state law says that you are the judge of what happens tonight, and how it goes down. The one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and swear the investigators and Mr. Kane under oath, so that everything that is presented to y'all is under oath. Hearsay is going to be allowed tonight for the simple reason that there may have been witnesses that would have been hard to get here to testify, and that goes for both sides. So unless there's any questions for me, I'll go ahead and swear in the parties and let y'all begin your hearing. Any questions? You swear or affirm that the information you will give this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. You swear or affirm that the information you will give this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You swear or affirm that the information you will give this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I'll just ask everybody to remember, speak up.
This microphone's not on.
It's not going into the auditory system, is it?
It should be.
We can swap it out if we need to swap it out.
That's not. Don't worry.
The important thing is if you ladies can't hear, y'all got to let us know.
Mr. Byrd, do you have the opening statement?
Yes, ma'am. One thing I would, Mayor, Councilman, citizens of Batesburg-Leesville, just want to tell you a little bit about my background. I was police chief in Irmo for about 10 years, left in '92, been a private investigator ever since. In 2008, I did go work for SLED for a small stint and in regulatory, and went back into private investigative business.
Would you
Yes,
please
I'm
address
sorry.
counsel? Thank you.
There's more of them over there.
State your name again.
My name's David Byrd, B-Y-R-D. And my office is Byrd Investigation. It's located in Columbia, South Carolina. I get cases, missing person cases, things of nature. We work domestic cases, criminal defense cases, criminal and civil cases. So we're across the board on what we provide at my firm. Now, I was asked on May the 17th, I believe it was, hang on. Excuse me, May the 13th, to actually try to locate Mr. Stephen Kane. I knew the Sheriff's Department was also looking for Mr. Kane, and that was what I was tasked to do. We were doing that, and I just want to take you through a step very briefly. No, it might take a little bit of time. of what I did, what I was trying to do to try to find Mr. Kane. For one thing, the first thing that we do is we have a report that a database company has all sorts of information. It's a combined information dump, if I may put it that way, for people who have utilities, electricity. Maybe you've signed up for magazine subscriptions or something of that nature. All that information, when you fill out those forms for a sweepstake at a gas station, it goes somewhere. Well, there's companies out there that gather all this information and put it into a database company. The company that I use is called TLO. That's out of Florida, South Carolina. And all driver's license information, things of that nature. It's not a catch-all, and I want you to understand that, for all information to be called up. Some states or some certain parts of the country aren't even computerized at this time. We think everybody is, well, they're not. And so there are gaps. But we use it as a blueprint to help us locate people. And in this case, I was given the information of Stephen Kane, approximate age, things of that nature, and I was able to put in and identify who he was. And then the report just basically would have possible employers, best addresses, things of that nature. And that helps me, look to see if maybe some other utilities have been turned on somewhere else of that nature. And it also gives me a guideline in there, again, it's not certain, of dates that person was known to use a certain address. And I don't know if I told you this, but this is national search. It runs through all these different databases. So I ran it, and it basically came back to 2 addresses, actually 3 addresses, but 2 of them that we focus on the most. And one of them was in Washington, D.C., 1519 A Street, Southeast, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia County. And it had him having some type of affiliation at this address from 1985 to actually present. It was 5/29/215. What affiliation he has with that address, I don't know. Okay, I want to be clear on that. I don't know. The report doesn't tell me what the affiliation is. Could be a family member. Could be just a good friend that he's used this address in the past or get some mail at. It doesn't get that detail. Another address was 135 South Oak Street, Batesburg, South Carolina. It started with some type of affiliation from 2003 to present into May of 2015. Another address was 130 South Pine Street, Batesburg, South Carolina. His known address, as it was given to me, and that's back in 1998 to present. So I just want to know that's where we start from. This also will give me information of cell phone numbers that have been affiliated to any individual, and we can search from that aspect. So I want to know that's what I had to work with. Again, I was tasked just to find him, figure out where he's living. I do want to say before I go any further, I don't know. Okay, I know I was having a cup of coffee this morning, and I saw we were going to report where he's been living this whole time. I was shaking my head. I can't tell you where he's been living since November 17th of 2014, and I'll tell you why that date is important, November 17th, 2014. So I wanted you to know, I don't know, I have clueless. And the way I've explained it to anybody that was dealing with this, it's sort of like the information here. If your house backs up to a national forest, and one day you decide on walking out your back door and walking into the forest for 6 months, and you're not changing your driver's license, not changing your utilities, you're not subscribing to newspapers or anything of that nature, where I'm telling you this information comes from that generates my blueprint to try to find somebody. The only way you're gonna be found is a sighting of another hiker running through the woods and happens to see you, or a helicopter or something. It's between, I can't tell you what trees you slept under for 6 months. It would be impossible for me to do that, and that's where I am on this. So I want to make that clear. I cannot report to where Mr. King has been living, because according to anything that I've looked up, he hasn't changed. He hasn't done anything since November 17th. Now, the reason that November 17th is important of 2014 is because that is the date that the foreclosure on 130 South Pine Street was finalized. And I have those documents from the clerk of court. And it was finalized and given to the bank, the U.S. Bank Trust, and some others. But I have copies of that, and that's why I keep on bringing up that November the 17th. So that residency of 130 South Pine Street would be pretty much not his residence anymore. It's the bank's residence. Again, I can't tell you if he continued to live there, squatting, whatever anybody wants to, I don't know. I just don't know that. So that, yes, ma'am.
Do you have copies for us to file in you, or did you not bring those?
I didn't know to make a packet for everybody, so I didn't.
We're gonna make, whatever gets addressed here, we're gonna try, we're just in opening statements right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to get them marked into evidence so we know what they are, and then we're gonna make copies for everybody. So if you wanna see them before y'all take a vote, whatever you wanna do, we'll take a short break so we run those copies and everybody can have.
Gee, I like to follow as he speaks, just like they take notes. Thank you.
Okay. So there's just other things that we've checked, and we'll go through that as we go. And I have documents, and like I said, we'll make copies for anything that we have here. And that's what I would say, but a big thing I want to tell you, I cannot tell you where he has been living since he went missing, okay? Thank you.
Mr. King, you got an opening statement? Mr. Byrd, you got any witnesses you want to call, or?
I'll just put these in review. I have Henry Dukes. He's been sworn in. You want to just sit here, I guess? Is that the way we're set up?
That's fine.
Henry works with the firm. But Henry has been working on this case along with me. And Henry, I would like you to identify its skin and what you have there.
Does he want to enter in evidence first?
I would.
It's 12 pages. One more, next one is one more. It's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit 1, like I said, it's 12 pages long.
Question, do we need a copy of it? Not just glanced at it, it's the first time I've seen it.
One second. So what I'm gonna do is somebody will go start making copies for us, the copiers.
The copiers what? Huh? The reason I asked is because I'm like tape on it.
Is this
I get read it. I can always call it back.
What you want to discuss this one, we need that, you can look at it, and the copies of all the rest of it, because then we'll be able to have it out.
Mr. Diggs, you familiar with those documents?
Yes, I am.
All right, and you would secure them how?
Through a subpoena.
Okay, and what does those records show?
This is basically a packet that was prepared, which also includes the subpoena that was served on SC&G, South Carolina Electric and Gas, in reference to the address of 130 South Pine Street in Batesburg, South Carolina.
And when, just to, maybe to shorten this, the last time that it was, the last entry of time that the electricity was on at that address?
Actually, the last time that it was on, it was reestablished again on 4/24 of 2015. That was actually in the realtor's name. The actual date where it was last in Mr. Stephen D. Kane's name, it was reactivated on 8/12 of 2014 and deactivated on 11/25 of 2014. That was actually the 11/25/2014 is the actual last date that the power was on that address in Stephen Kane's name. And like I said, on the 4/24/2015 is when the power was established by the realty company who took the property on.
No further questions on that document.
Mr. Kane, you want to ask any questions?
Or give me that document. I'll go finish making copies for everybody. We'll bring them, hopefully the next document back to you.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
This is 2. All right, plans 2 been marked, it's 2 pages.
Mr. Booth, did you obtain a copy of the document from them?
I did.
Will you explain to them what you're holding?
I traveled to the, it's the voter registration of Stephen D. Kane.
Okay, will you tell the first page as you're looking at, the date and the address that was used as a resident?
The Stephen D. Kane date of application is 3/13 of 1998. The address appearing on there is 135 Oak Street, Batesburg-Leesville, South Carolina.
It also has a P.O. box on it as well.
Correct, it does, right beside the 135 Oak Street, it has P.O. Box 2005.
Great. And on the second page,
The second page, this application for voter registration was done on 3/16 of 1998, and it shows the address, it shows the name of Stephen D. Kane with the address of 130 South Pine Street. The second page is actually, was current up until today.
okay, and what information have we been provided today?
We were provided information today from the voter registration that his voter registration today, Stephen D. Kane's, is 135 South Oak Street, Batesburg-Leesville, South Carolina.
Mr. Kane, any questions?
I don't think correct, but, you know, that's why I have my voter registration card here.
That's today's.
But, yeah, he misquoted the address,
Oh, okay.
but that's fine.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
In 1998, 3/16/98, that's when it was 135 Oak Street?
The 3/13 of 1998 was when it was the 135 South Oak Street,
Uh-huh.
and it was changed on 3/16 of 1998 to the 130 South Pine Street.
Okay.
Both
And that was
were-
effective today?
Yes, yes, sir. Question was asked, and I'll ask him so it's on the record. Both of those addresses are in District 3, correct?
They are.
Yes, sir.
And what did the current, what you have now?
The address
What-
is 133, so,
One,
33, they're on the same line.
133,
Two houses,
135.
two houses, one line.
And when was that changed?
I changed that, today. You don't change a lot of people don't change their voter address consistently, but it's in the district, it's always been in the district. But I wanted to make sure that we had all the records and documents that we needed for this hearing. So,
And we're waiting on more copies.
Just making that.
Every time.
It's okay. Yeah, let's do it. We'll do it now wherever you are.
Well, I'm trying to bring back to the same
Okay.
order.
But somebody just speak for them today when I You actually got two things here.
Two pages, which one break it up into? How you want to break it up? So I can do this one. This is for 3 pages, right? Three pages. It's going to be plaintiff's 3, and it's 3 pages long.
And I'm still preparing to do so.
Mr. Dukes, since we were looking for Mr. Kane, we actually had to go talk to people about the addresses I talked about earlier, and one of them being the 135 South Oak Street in Batesburg, and you were actually there, went over and talked to the people. Can you tell us about the documents that you have in front of you?
This is an affidavit of Miss Mattie Kane. She resides at 135 South Oak Street. I went by on 6/3 of 2015 and spoke to her. This was I talked to her and she provided me information, and I provided her with a typed affidavit that she read. There was actually a typo mistake on the affidavit where it said husband instead of brother, and when she read it, she actually pointed that out to me that we had made a mistake, that it wasn't husband, it was brother, and she initialed, you can see on the affidavit where she put MC, that's where she initialed that after she read it. This is an affidavit that consists of that Stephen, when he moved down from Washington, D.C., he resided with her for a short period of time in the late 80s, early 90s, but has not resided with her or at the address since the late 80s, early 90s. That's what was provided in that. There's also a document that was provided by the town of Batesburg-Leesville, which is page 2, in reference to the water bill change at the address. Ms. Kane also addressed that in the statement, that she was not aware that she had a document put in front of her to sign on 11/10/2014, but she didn't have any idea what she was signing, and that she did not desire for her water account to be switched over into Stephen Kane's name.
Yeah. What's his name?
Mr. Dukes.
Mr. Dukes. Do you know how old my aunt is?
I know she's, I believe she's past 80 years old.
Are you aware of any medical or neurological conditions that she may or may not have?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Do you know what year I graduated from high school?
Excuse me?
Do you know what year I graduated from high school?
No, sir.
Do you know what year I attended college?
No, sir.
Okay. So is it possible that this document that you put in front of my aunt, who's 85 years old, that she could have been confused, nervous, and very anxious about what you were saying, and was confused?
I don't believe she was confused, because for the simple reason, not only did I read the document to her, she read it herself out loud and affixed her signature right down here, and also put the date on the document.
So would it surprise you that in the late 80s that I was still in high school in Washington, D.C., and did not move to South Carolina? In the early 90s, I was still at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and did not move to South Carolina. So what I'm saying, would it surprise you that my aunt, not knowing you flashed her a badge that she wasn't sure about? She was very upset when you left because you did not leave this document with her. You brought it, you sat there, you told her what it said. We don't know what it said because she couldn't remember what it was that you put in front of her. She signed it, and she was very upset about that. And I said, Auntie, what did you sign? What did you say? And it was totally different from what's on this paper. So, and the fact that the facts are wrong, you know, you're an investigator, and the facts are wrong in this document. You know, would you be surprised that all your facts are wrong in this document? If that's what she said. Would that surprise you at all?
The facts in this document were provided by Ms. Mattie Kane.
That would be my point, that the document, the dates don't match. The document.
Ms. Kane, you have a question for Mr.
I just asked him.
Because you're testifying, really, and I'd like you to ask your question.
I asked him a question. Can I finish?
As long as we don't continue to testify.
Okay, I'm asking you, would it be surprising to you that the dates that are referenced in here are not correct. And I see you have this document here, but you don't have the signature card for the water. Do you have the signature card for the water transfer?
Correct, we do, we have it right here.
Okay, and did she say that that is not her signature on it?
No, she did not say that.
Okay, so it's very possible that when she was thinking clearly, that she signed that document, correct?
She doesn't deny signing the
Okay.
water changing card.
Okay, but the way this reads is that I somehow, somehow tricked her into signing the water. That's what it sounds like. Is you saying is that what you're saying in the affidavit, that I tricked my aunt into signing the water over?
No, what she said was that she signed a piece of paper. She did not know what she was signing, but her intention was not to have her water transferred into anybody else's name but hers, and she desired for it to be switched back.
Okay, and so, but now that document that she signed is valid, but this document, I mean, I'm not understanding. So, was she confused when she signed that document, or was she confused when she signed your document?
She wasn't confused when she signed my document,
How do you know that?
okay? Because she read it and she affixed her signature down on it.
Okay, but, and the dates are wrong, though. But let me ask you this. Why didn't you leave a copy of that document with her so that family members could read it over with her?
I did leave a copy and I also left her a card.
You left her a copy of this? Well, that just goes to show you, she can't find it. She doesn't remember anything that you just described to you. Okay?
This is 3 pages. Here, you also obtained a.
Steve, may I ask you a question?
I don't know, you have to ask the attorney. They can do whatever one they
May I ask Mr. Payne a question?
Yes.
When did you graduate college and come home to South Carolina?
I attended Georgetown up until 1994.
When I ran for mayor, I think it was 1996. Were you not living in Marion at that time?
In 96?
I think it was 96 when I ran for mayor.
It possibly could be. I'm not sure. I don't think that I was living with her. I was in the state, but I don't think I was living with her at that time.
Because I know that you and I had a long conversation.
I remember you coming to the kitchen door.
Right.
I was cooking for them, but I don't know if I was living there.
Okay.
At that point. I lived in Columbia for a while.
He says 94, I think it was 96.
No, I'm saying that
Have you graduated last year?
in 94, but 96.
Y'all hold on. The court order can't.
Okay, well, you just told them they can do what they want to do now.
But I'm trying to at least one person speak at a time, that's all I'm saying. I'm not stopping anybody from talking, we just gotta make sure we do it one at a time.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Payne, you said you attended Georgetown, but you did not graduate, is that correct? How many years did you attend?
4.
You attended 4 years?
Yeah.
Mr. King, now, when did you, okay, you did not graduate, right? But you left there in 1996.
That's what Bob said.
What year did you say you left there?
But I'm not really sure. Between 96 and 98, I was in the States.
You were in which state?
In South Carolina.
In South Carolina?
Right.
96
Between 96 and even 98.
and 98?
I worked for Fritz. I have to look at my record, but somewhere in there.
Okay, and what is your name, sir?
Henry Dukes.
Mr. Dukes. Well, that, to me, can you help me, make me understand that, she said, and the auntie says that he has not lived with her since the late 80s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s or the early 90s?
Correct.
Okay.
And what she was saying about that, she couldn't give me an exact date, but what she did say that was when he moved down from DC in the late 80s, early 90s, he resided with her for a short period of time.
Okay, and he, okay, I got that. I'm understanding that. But however, that was the late 80s, 90s that he came to South Carolina. So this is to me, it's a conflict.
Well, what?
Make me understand that, please, sir.
Okay, well, let me explain. Here's what we do. As investigators, we go out and gather information. We document what the people tell us, okay? And that is what we have done in this case. We go out, we document the information. It's the same as on the original, on the 3/13 of 98 voter registration application, he put down 3/13 of 98, he resided at the 135 South Oak Street.
Sir, not to be rude, or to be disrespectful, but that, I understood all that. But I need you to clarify that one little section that I just gave you. And that is, Auntie says, I'm gonna say Auntie, but Mrs. King, let me be professional. Mrs. King says that he hasn't been with her since stay with him, her, Mrs. King, since the late 80s or the early 90s, per your report.
Correct.
For a couple of weeks. But yet, Mr. King did not move to South Carolina. I'm looking at 96 or 98 during that time. So that is a conflict for me. So I'm maturing and I do get dates mixed up. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, okay?
Kathy, I say something else on that. My aunt is not able, and I'm not gonna get into it for HIPAA reasons, but she's not able to sign an affidavit at all. Okay.
Maybe
she's able.
Mr. King, you're testifying now, so.
Mr. Clarify, she asked a
No,
question.
She asked her King to Mr. Diggs. I asked a question of Mr. Diggs, Mr.
Okay,
King.
all right.
So please, let's just kind of
All right.
stay channel, Mr. King.
This may help with this one question. Mr. Dukes, we report what people say, we don't tell them what to say, is that correct?
Correct.
Whether it's
Well,
correct or not correct.
Hold on,
Correct.
Madam Mayor. Now, that's not a correct statement because you came with a written statement already.
Mr.
So
Dukes.
she didn't
hang
say
on.
that, that's what he
I'll
said.
ask it. Mr. Dukes, you got the information from him prior to putting the statement together, correct?
Correct.
Because you visited her house and talked to her,
Correct.
came back to Columbia,
Correct.
prepared a statement of how you took the conversation,
Correct.
then you brought it back a few days later,
Correct.
and she read it,
Yes, sir.
she signed it,
Yes, sir.
she corrected it.
Correct.
No further question.
For the record, the next document been marked as plaintiff's 4, and I think it's a one-page document I've had here.
This document number 4 is an affidavit of Charles Randall Fox and Judith Turner. Their address is 135 South Pine Street. The reason we traveled and had to get this affidavit from these two individuals is because on Mr. Kane's booking photo, he provided his booking form at the Lexington County Detention Center. He provided the address of 135 South Pine Street, Batesburg, South Carolina, as his current residence. So we had to go out during the course, any address that came up during our course of our investigation, we traveled out to and talked to the individuals there. And we were able to obtain a statement. This was also prepared, and these individuals read it, put in the number 30 plus. That indicates that they had lived there for 30 plus years. And basically, this is in reference that Stephen Kane does not reside at the address of 135 South Pine Street.
Question.
Yes. Excuse me.
Who's going?
You go next.
Okay, Mr. Davis, is it possible that in all of the things that go on with booking, excuse me, that someone can conflate 135 South Oak Street with 135 South Pine Street when they've lived on Pine Street for so many years? In your opinion, can that be a simple mistake? A simple time?
It could be.
Okay.
So he could have made a mistake, been
It could have been an
confused.
honest mistake, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Your B.
Mr. Bird, do you have a copy of that foreclosure? Is it still in the process of being foreclosed, or is it final?
I think he has it, I have mine.
No, she got,
Here's your original.
It's
it's fine.
it's final?
Yes, it
Okay.
is fine.
Let's go ahead and do it. 12 pages.
All right, Plaintiff's 5 been marked as 12 pages long.
Mr. Dukes, you have the 12 pages in front of you. You believe you're the one that went to the clerk of court. Will you identify the pages and what they show?
The first set of papers will go to the back on. This is basically a order of ejectment. It was modifying an original order that was issued. That is what this reflects. This document, the second is paperclip. I think if they paperclipped it on the clerk of court's office. Okay? And like I said, that is an order of an ejectment, and this was a modification done to the original ejectment. I think the way it was explained to me is that the sheriff's department went out because if you read the sheriff's department, due to changes within the department, we're no longer willing to carry out the execute ejectment process based upon, and that's the reason they did an amended on this. Okay, this was the final one, so they could go out and do the ejectment. What the top packet is actually the foreclosure master equity deed. It shows that on November the 17th of 2014, it was deeded back over to the U.S. Bank and Trust. The actual property left the care of Mr. Kane officially by court documents in the Master of Equity and Deeds. The deed was signed over on the 17th of November, 2014.
I have no further questions.
I'm just looking for those dates, okay? I'm seeing them now.
Ms. Dukes,
Yes, sir.
is it possible, do you know how long the foreclosure process takes?
I can actually tell you that this foreclosure process started on December 19th of 2007.
So, is it possible, and let me ask you this, when was the water transferred? When was the water,
That's not in this document.
well, that's fine, but I was asking if he knows.
We can address this document.
Okay, I'm just asking if
Okay,
he
we
knows.
might get to a water thing.
Well, he just brought it up, he opened the door for it when he brought it up.
The date on that, on
Pardon? Go ahead.
the date on the service change is 11/10 of 2014.
11/10 of 2014.
That's what I'm looking at here.
So is it possible that if someone was intending to move and take responsibility for the water service at their home, that they would do that in the midst of impending foreclosure or deed in lieu. Is that something that a reasonable person would do in a house that they intended to move into?
I can't answer to that.
I'm just saying, is it reasonable for a person to do something like that? You're an investigator, you're a professional, I just want to know, in your professional opinion, is it reasonable for someone to start utilities in a place where they intend to move to?
I can't take and state any of that because what I am testifying from is the documents that are provided by the court, by the town,
Right.
and by individuals. I can't answer and speculate in any way in reference to why somebody would do anything they did. I can only gather the facts and present them to the council.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on the water bills. Do you have copies of the water bills from 11/10?
I mean, I have the latest water bill, but the water bill is clearly, had that. So, and it's been that way since, I believe September, but he says November, so at some point.
Who's been paying your bill?
I've been paying it.
You've been paying your bill?
And council, I also refer you back to, since Mr. Kane pointed out the fact about the water change, then we would go back to the disconnection of the electric on 11/25/2014 was when it was cut off at the house.
Let me ask you a question. So is it not reasonable if someone's moving to keep the electricity on until they fully move?
I don't know that you can necessarily classify a foreclosure and an ejectment as somebody moving. I think they were removed from the residence, is the way it.
I think it's a difference without a distinction, but that's fine.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you don't see the difference in whether I'm forced out, I'm locked out, but I move. Move is move, okay?
Correct.
So let's just keep it that way. Move is move, no matter how it's done. No longer living there, you moved. Okay,
Yes.
good. Through with it.
The next document I have is an affidavit, actually from you, that you prepared about the public hearing. We got a few questions about that. Y'all have that? Will you explain what that is?
Excuse me, before you do that, I need to ask the attorney one question.
Plan 6 is 5A.
The document you have in front of you now is affidavit of personal service. At the point that I was advised that Mr. Kane was at the Lexington County Sheriff's Office, I was requested to serve a notice of a public hearing, deliver him a copy basically of a public hearing, which is a public hearing that's being conducted tonight. I traveled to the detention center and met with Mr. Kane and delivered him a copy of the hearing that was going to be conducted tonight.
Mr. Dukes, when you were there and you saw Mr. Kane, were you going to also take an opportunity to try to talk to him?
Correct, I was.
And what were you going to ask him?
I was going to simply try to obtain the information of where he had resided at during the period of time.
On page 2, of those documents, make that page 3. Were you also going to try to clarify the confusion or whatever it is of the address that he put on his booking sheet, or the information he gave to the booking desk?
Correct, I was.
And what was Mr. Kane's response?
He did not want to talk to me and told me to leave.
No further questions.
Mr. Dukes, let's be real clear. Did I say I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to leave, or did I say I was represented by counsel?
You told me you were represented by counsel, and you also told me to leave.
Okay. No, can I ask you another question? You said that you were, some of the questions that you were going to ask me is where I had resided, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever pick up the phone and call me?
No.
Prior to doing this whole investigation? You never picked up the phone and called my cell phone?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, Mr. Dukes,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, when we were talking earlier, what Pine Street address is what?
Which Pine Street address are you talking about?
Give me all that you, the ones that you said in there, that please.
All right, we talked about the 130 South Pine Street.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the 135 South Pine Street.
And we're not sure whether that was a booking error.
Correct.
Okay. Just by what someone told you.
Correct.
Okay.
In the package you were just given, the information that was provided to me with the booking photo, the information which showed that, reflected that address.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I saw, and I read the affidavit from Judy and the other guy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry. 8 times. 8 days.
Right, claim number 8 is 8 pages. This number 7 is 8 pages.
Basically, to explain to y'all, this is a subpoena that was served on Verizon Wireless in reference to obtaining cell phone information. The only thing that was being requested from that subpoena was tower location. Okay, that's all they were asking for. That's all that was being asked for by the subpoena, was for Verizon Wireless to provide us with the cell tower locations of the cell phone anytime it was basically being used. Because we are at the mercy of the phone company, that information has not been provided back to us. They do not have to react to a subpoena, search warrant, court order, anything like that at any time span. We could get the information 5 minutes from now, or it could be 6 months, it could be a year before they get the information. Basically, when they get subpoenas in, they put them in order, and they just continuously go through them, and first one off the stack is the way they do it.
And the reason for the subpoena was to be able to locate where he was using his phone to either support Mr. Kane's claim that he's been here, or maybe not, correct?
Correct.
We just don't know, correct?
Correct.
So, Mr. Dukes, let me understand. So you had the phone number. You you sent a subpoena to Verizon Wireless, but you did not pick up the phone and call them. Is that what you testified today?
Correct. I do not hold no loans, and I did not call your number.
Oh.
This certainly won't come in with Henry Dukes, but I guess we could. This is what I spoke earlier about as sort of being a blueprint when we're trying to find somebody. Since it is in my file, and I was asked to produce everything in my file, you'll get a copy of it. It really, again, it's not totally 100%. With the information, it's just a blueprint to help us lead our way. But Henry has seen many of those in our office. And that's why we'll be supplying it, because we want to supply anything and everything that was in our file that helped us to look at a place, whether it was positive information or negative information, if that makes sense.
Page 23, please.
I really don't have any questions for Mr. Duke about that document, because I believe I've explained it to you what it is. So don't infer any information in it. It's something that, again, we use as a blueprint, and we go out and verify if information is correct or not correct. I just want to be crystal clear on that. There's another document that somehow did not get into the packet. It's a one-page. We'll have Mr. Dukes explain this, what it is, and it's also still under investigation, and I believe it's called a inlet, and that's I-N-L-E-T. And Mr. Dukes, will you explain to what that is?
Excuse me, before,
If we can't see it, then really, I mean, we don't know if it exists or not. We need to be able to see it. The defense needs to be able to see it, examine it, close our participants. I mean,
Your objection goes to the mayor. I'm
okay,
just sitting here to.
all right, what I'm saying is,
Advice.
if he can't see it, if I can't see it, he's saying that it exists. We have no way to reasonably challenge it.
Tell me what the inlet is again.
The inlet is information that is requested to a specific state in reference to driver's license or photo ID information that is provided.
Is this considered hearsay then?
It would be hearsay at the moment, yes, ma'am.
The council decided to allow hearsay, so.
And Mr.
excuse me,
Duke, go
I'd
ahead.
like to say something. As I said before, if you're going to bring something up, we knew this meeting was going to take place, then I hold you responsible for bringing me a black and white hard copy for me to follow you on. And I know if it's gonna be hearsay, you got to have, I need the paperwork to go along with your hearsay.
Well, council ruled that we would allow hearsay at the council.
Let it be
meeting. We
noted,
adopted
I
it.
totally disagree.
All right.
That's something you can dream of. I need to see the
Well,
paperwork.
that's the vote on record, so.
Yes, ma'am. We worked with the Lexington County Sheriff's Department during this when they were looking for Mr. Kane as well. And that's how it came about. They had a lead that they passed on to us to see if we could take it any further, and that's what it's called. It was in North Carolina. All I can tell you, in Empress, North Carolina, we don't know, and I don't want to speculate exactly where it may lead us, because that is still out there trying to get the information back, whether he's had an ID in North Carolina using a Washington DC address. We are working on that. It's not bad. Many phone calls have been made about it, but we don't have that information.
Question, Ms. Kim?
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
That if we don't have all the facts before council, how are we coming up with all these conclusions and having this meeting?
Well, that's when council voted that night during the council meeting to the procedures. and they are here. They were in the minutes of the council packet that you received for this past month's meeting that detailed everything the council voted on, and council had agreed to allow hearsay. And I don't think hearsay requires documentation. Does it?
I'm thinking if you're gonna bring something to court as evidence, just as you did the other exhibits and gave it to the court hearing, the lady to put down to establish that, I feel like that information should have been given, whether it was hearsay or not.
Well, that was council's decision at the time, so we'll
And I
move forward
think
based
council
on
made a
that.
mistake by doing it this
Well,
way,
your
because if
objection
you're
is
gonna be
duly
legal.
noted, and we'll move forward. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay.
But it is duly noted.
Okay. I have no further questions for Henry Dukes. I have another person I'd like to call, and that's Mr. Baker.
Come up.
I guess,
Do I need to get sworn in?
yes, you do.
It's an election committee. I think it's an election committee. That's it.
Yes, like Chris was
That's right. This is the election commission.
He's director of county election.
Mr. Chris, would you tell the mayor and the council your position in the county?
I'm the director of voter registration and election, and voter registration and elections for Lexington County.
Okay, I really only have one question, and you've been here, you've heard everything that's been talked about. And mainly if you focus on the foreclosure that appeared through documents that we have, that the house would have been foreclosed final on November the 17th, 2014, assuming that document is correct. And to today, the missing time, the 6 months or so, today, Mr. Kane came in and re-upped or renewed or rechanged to another. Between those times, if Mr. Kane had wanted to vote, and maybe if he had wanted to vote in the special coroner's race, or the sheriff would be the, if he had voted and brought his current card that's at 130 South Pine Street to the voters registration table, would that have been a legal vote?
Yes, it would have, because we could have voted in then. If his address had changed, we still could have voted in Vilsack.
But that was the address that he hasn't been
Currently had
at.
that time, yes.
Yeah, so, but, no, if November 17th was the day he wasn't there, if he hasn't been there since.
He was still a qualified elector, yet to be able to vote, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't want to tiptoe anything, but also, you can also use your driver's license to.
Yes, sir, you can use driver's license, military ID, there's about 6 different, you can also use passports to vote with and everything else.
Okay. I have nothing more.
Thank you.
That's it.
I would like to ask one other person,
Thank you.
and that would be you, Mr. Kane, if I could ask you a few questions.
Well, I'm not going to answer the questions.
Then I'm done.
If you refuse to answer, then you can't present the case. If you're called as a witness,
Well, I'm not going to present it.
you don't have nothing to present.
Other than my closing statement, I have nothing to present.
Okay. You don't have anything to present?
Other than my closing statement, no.
Okay. Do you have any closing statements?
No.
Okay, Mr. Gaines?
Okay. And I'm going to be very brief with my closing statement. Council, I just want to let you know that the state of South Carolina recognizes my address, my domicile, my intent to live on Oak Street. The Lexington County Library recognizes my residency, my intent to live at
I can make copies of those documents if you're going to show them to council.
I'm not going to give you a copy of my driver's license then. That's not, no, you can't have my driver's license. But you
Only
can
make
have
copies of the driver's license.
Pardon?
I need to make a copy of driving license, you're gonna show it to council.
No, I'm not gonna show it to council and evidence. Why would you be talking about that?
Can I see it?
Yeah, of course you
Because I'll just read the information
No,
and
no,
then
no,
back to the
that's all right,
side.
that's all right. Just, you don't need that a record of my driver's license,
Okay.
okay? It has the same address and everything else. But, can I finish?
But you're talking about things that have not been introduced into evidence.
Okay,
If you want to introduce it in evidence, I'm trying to help you introduce it.
There you go. There you go.
And this is putting on a case.
Okay.
And
You know, I'm not gonna put that in there.
you don't want to.
I'm not gonna put that.
We're gonna make copies of these, I'll be right back.
I mean,
This is the drug
What's that thing she talks into? It's a mask that when she's whispering, it goes into a dual recorder. One side of the recorder is TV and everything that they're saying, the other side is TV only, but she's saying what does she use it for? To be a certified mask recorder, you have to take a
She don't do that.
She does type it. She has to call me, type it up on a word processor. I'm already done. I just call them and put mine in the disk, and then I have to go through it again to see if my punctuation's right. That's why I was in school for 100 years. Okay. But to take a national test, they only let you use the tape that you talked into, not the other one.
I don't think I like it.
I know a girl that got that TMJ from it.
That's painful.
Oh, God.
Library card is a master mail that y'all look at, about to make copies of all of it. Would you agree there's no identification information on those? They got copies of the front, but there was maybe just sit back there and make copies of the back.
the one that's written in marker is my son's car. The one my son was put in time.
This is the extended warning.
All right, can we go, everybody's good?
Finish three.
Yeah. All right, so you ready, Chris?
Whenever you're ready.
All right, look, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Before I go back into that, I just want to say, and I think that the investigators also made it clear that nobody throughout this whole process has picked up the phone and called me to inquire as to where I live or where I go or anything like that. I have been in direct contact with Mr. Luckady. I've had several months of emails and text messages and phone conversations with Mr. Luckady. So I just want to make that part of the record that, you know, my phone number is a matter of public record, and nobody picked up the phone to call. But like I was saying, the state of South Carolina recognizes my domicile, my intent, where I live and where I intend to live. The library, Lexington County Library, recognizes, they verify your address and everything, so they give you a card, where I live, where I intend to live, and where I continue to live. Lexington County Voter Registration also recognizes my domicile, where I live, and where I intend to live. When I go to the store, I intend to come back home on Oak Street. If I go around the world and spend a month, I intend to come back home to my residence, to Oak Street. And I also, I'm in touch with my constituents. The only calls I got with certain constituents, I help them with their issues, and I never, there wasn't an issue. So I don't think any evidence was presented here today that I'm domiciled or live somewhere other than where I say I live. So, I mean, that's the only statement I will make at this particular time. Is that the documents that I've shown are from the town, they're from the state, and they're from the county, and they all say where I live.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
That's what the documents say. Where have you been since November? You turn yourself
That doesn't matter, it's where I live, it's the question before council.
The state statute says you have to, the state statute is different than the town ordinance. The town ordinance says you have to be a qualified elector for the entire term, the
Right.
entire time.
Right.
Not going to come back. Where have you been?
But nobody, and Todd, you assumed that I've been somewhere.
Nobody's found you.
Were you looking for me, did you call me?
College doesn't tell you where you are.
Mr. Levy, could you reach me?
Yes, I could.
Okay. Ted, could you reach me when you needed me? Were we talking?
they haven't been subpoenaed this witness since.
Okay, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I'm trying to address this question by demonstrating that, you know, he's saying that I haven't been here, but, I mean, we assume that.
Let me demonstrate to you that calling your cell phone is not tell us where you are.
Right, because if he had called the cell phone, I picked up and you could ask me.
Ms. Bizarre, I need you to please be quiet.
Asking the question, where have you been?
But that's not germane to what this hearing is about. This hearing is about where I live.
It's exactly what this.
I've been in Batesburg. I've been here and I've been not here. I've been coming and going like I normally come and go.
No one saw you.
What do you mean nobody's home? Yeah, that's a statement, you can't, I don't understand what you mean by nobody's home. There's tons of people back here who have seen you.
If your constituents reached out to us for help, they didn't know who you were.
What you, I mean, and did they call you?
Excuse me, I need the I need the gallery to refrain from comment, please.
I don't understand the nature of the question, because if no one called me, okay, but if nobody called me, I'm telling you, you said you assumed that I've been somewhere. So I'm not understanding your question, because in my mind, I've been where I normally be. I've done what I normally do. And nobody has called me to say, where are you? You know, I didn't know folks were looking for me.
Where have you been since November?
I've been at my house, I've been in Batesburg, I've been wherever I normally go. It's not important where I've been, it's where I live.
Excuse me, I'd like to say something.
Yes.
Ms. Taylor, please,
Hey,
ma'am.
let me ask Todd a question. Do you
I'm
normally,
not answering questions.
okay, but do you normally see me? Do you normally see me?
This doesn't have anything to do with.
He asked me where I was, I'm asking, did you normally see me?
It's not up to you to ask council questions, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Taylor, you had a
I have
question?
a question. When you moved out of 130 South Pine Street, where did you move your belongings?
I moved it to the house where I live now.
Which address would that be?
The 133 South Pine, 133 and 135 are on the same lot, two houses next to one along the lot.
Did you not have a lot of your belongings moved into the Oak Street address, 137 Oak Street?
What do you mean, Mr. Moses building?
Yes.
Those are business documents that I have here.
No. I saw a mattress. I was there when they were moving your belongings in there.
Most of that
Mattress,
stuff-
box springs, refrigerator, stove. I was there when they were moving it all in there.
Right,
And I witnessed it.
but I didn't live there.
No.
Okay, so some of my
But
stuff
the
went there.
logical thing is if you moved to 133 Oak Street,
Right.
you would have moved your belongings into 133 Oak
Rachel,
Street.
Rachel, I've always had a bed at 133 Oak Street. I've always had a bed, a dresser, furniture at 133 Oak Street. So everything can fit in that little house. So, you know, some of my stuff went there, some of it went different places. Some of it I still need to find. But that doesn't mean that I didn't live there. I'm not understanding how storing some furniture equates to non-residents. You know, I've always had furniture. I got an office in the house too. It's a little den of an office in the house. It's a ton of junk in there. But, and then when you have a house, you accumulate a whole bunch of stuff. So, anyway.
Okay. Ms. McDaniel?
Okay, I have some questions about, I keep hearing this personal thing about, where were you? Where were you? We are not here tonight to find out where were you? We are here tonight, if it's my understanding, to find out where were you living?
Right.
Is that correct? So all that personal, I'm hearing a lot of personal stuff. I'm not gonna tell you where I am every second. I'm not gonna tell you where I was yesterday. No, I'm not gonna tell you where I'm going tomorrow. So that's personal. And I think we need to back off of personal, council members, and let's stick to what the Attorney Spratley said we were going to do. And earlier, the detective had said that, the PI said, to tell you the truth, I don't know where he was living. So why are we attacking Councilman Kane? If I was sitting here in his seat, why would you be attacking me like that when I just give you all the proof you need to know where I live, and the PI has already cleared it for us? They do not know. Thank you.
A couple questions. And a comment or two, Steve. One, your library card doesn't mean much to me because I have a library card in Tennessee and Kershaw County.
You gonna got one from Lexington County?
I do have one from Lexington County.
If you didn't show a proper ID, you don't.
I have one from Lexington
Okay,
County, I have one from
discount-
Kershaw County,
okay.
I have one from Tennessee.
But Bob, discount my
All right.
library card.
All right. Water bill.
Right.
My son gets a water bill across the street from where he lives.
Right.
He doesn't live there.
Well, then he's in trouble.
No. the water bill's paid. It just happens to be in his name. That's not where he resides.
Okay. Well, Bob.
All right, now, I have a question for you. You were discharged from 130 South Pine in November. When did you change your voter registration and your driver's license to 133 Oak Street?
I just told you, today I changed.
All right, so 6 months where your voter registration and your driver's license at a false address.
No, well.
You didn't live there?
Okay, well,
No, this is
Bob, listen, I was lazy. Forgive me. I apologize. Me and
Well, I'm
Bob,
just saying.
I was lazy and I didn't change my voter registration card
Okay.
in a timely
6
fashion.
months.
And as far as my driver's license was concerned, which, you know, I mean, I've been raked over the coals and my pants broke down in Square, so I ain't ashamed to say that my license was suspended, so I couldn't change it until I got that cleared up, okay? And I wanted to, the reason why I changed my voter registration card today is so that I could have all my documents for this hearing. But I was lazy and I didn't change it. It's still in the same district, and I apologize.
Any other questions?
I have a question for Councilman.
Yes, sir.
Councilman, have you maintained a legal residence in District 3 since your last election to council?
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, at this point, where council goes from here is in y'all's hands. If somebody wants to make a